Welcome back, everyone, to episode 23 of Changing the Narrative. I just told Murray last episode was our Taylor Swift 22, and this episode is our Michael Jordan 23. So, perfect time to wrap up the NBA Finals and get us into our next episode. I am one of your fabulous co hosts, Elizabeth Rouse, and with me is my much better half.
Murray Elbourne. Thank you, Lizzie. Well, I got to get her off the bat. Turkey, you start. We kicked your butt. Serves you right for going on the media and your captain telling everybody that you just had to turn up to win. So I'm wearing my Australian polo today in honor of the Socceroos.
There you go.
How you
Do you
doing,
need me
Liz?
to like salute the camera or something?
He was just being a turkey. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
You always are a
he
turkey.
was being Captain Turkey, and Captain Turkey did not do well.
Yes, Murray is very proud of his team, and I am still wearing Cubs gear and still proud of my team and
What's
still
what
very
happened to the Cubs, Lizzie? Like they had such a
uh,
good start to the year. I was actually thinking
pitching
about
staff
betting
injuries.
on them to win the World Series, and then boom, it all went away in a heartbeat.
Here's my thing is I don't think we're totally down and out. I think there's a lot of baseball season left. However, pitching staff injuries hit hard when they hit.
Yes.
And I think that's been a really big part of it this year. So we'll see if there's some turnaround that's doable, and if there's not, the Lions start playing in September, so I'll be okay.
Okie dokie. Uh, I Are you familiar with a character called Danhausen?
Vaguely?
So Danhausen is a WWE superstar from
Hmm.
wrestling, and his gimmick is cursing people. And there was this big thing in the NBA playoffs where he went on to the ESPN and then met with Stephen A. Smith, who hosts the show. And there was this big thing about he cursed Stephen A. And then like the Knicks started to lose, and then he was like, "Oh, please stop, cursing me. Let the Knicks win." And then he uncursed him, and the Knicks went on a 15-0 streak in the playoffs.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and he actually went on ESPN, this character, and like specifically cursed the Cavaliers and then the Spurs. And obviously, first time in some, what is it, 56 years that
Hmm.
the Knicks won the championship. So Danhausen is like going to be admitted to the Knicks Hall of Fame because he uncursed the Knicks.
Okay, wait a minute though. The Knicks went 15 and 0. Didn't they lose one to the Spurs in the
They did
last?
lose one to the Spurs, but I think it's like one of the best playoff runs in the history of the NBA. That
Wow.
since he uncursed the Knicks and
Hmm. Hmm.
cursed their teams, they only lost one out of like six out of 17 matches.
That's kind of wild.
It
That's
is
kind of
kind of
wild.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
was
like,
in New York for both of the New York games of that series, so I got to see a little
did
bit
you
of the
sit next to
craziness.
Tay Tay or Trumpster?
I actually went to see a Broadway show
Oh,
during game one, and I was desperately trying to get home during game two.
very
So
educational and artsy of you.
yes, yes, I went to see The Great Gatsby. Phenomenal, phenomenal show, in case anyone
Yeah.
wants to follow in my
How
footsteps.
was the accessibility?
It was actually really good. I had audio description, and it was very tastefully done. Sometimes I think audio description can be a lot, but this one had a really good pre-show announcement, described the characters, the sets, the costumes, all the things. And then it was very easily manageable during the show. I did not like the earbud though. The earbud was a little uncomfortable, so next time I think I might bring my own earbud.
Bring your own earbud. That's
Yeah.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
probably
I'm
cleaner
glad
anyway,
I'm
but
glad that you love the Great Gatsby. Did you wait outside and did the stars come out and sign your playbill?
I did not. My mom is not a big crowds person.
Mm,
So it was kind of a miracle that we were able to successfully take the subway as many times as we actually did.
right.
So I took my wins as I could get them. And we enjoyed the show and then went back and actually caught the last quarter or so of the Knicks game, which was the game I believe that the Spurs won, if I'm
Uh,
not mistaken. So
well, Tay Tay looked like she was having a pretty fun time courtside,
yeah, as she should, as
whoever
she
her
should.
gal was.
Yes.
But she was dancing on the film. I did think of you. Uh,
There you go, as you should.
I should. Um,
Hmm.
Now, wedding plans for Tay Tay. Are you got any inkling about what's that's going to be?
Dude, I low-key thought they were getting married on the 13th of this month. I've known nothing. So I've just decided that when it's my turn to know, she'll tell me. And
Right.
until then, I'm just going to be content with the Toy Story 5 song drop release. So
You call yourself a super fan. I'm disappointed in you.
I don't clown. That's never been one of my skills. I did look at recently my like most listened to ever on Apple Music, and like 18 of my top 25 tracks are Taylor Swift. So I'm gonna go with that's good enough for me. I am going to see Ed Sheeran though in a couple weeks in Chicago. So
Nice. Ed is a fantastic show. I saw him in Sydney. Um,
yes,
and anytime I could catch Ed Sheeran, I would definitely go. Again,
yes,
one of the better shows that I have been to for sure.
he's very talented.
You
I'm
will
very excited.
enjoy that immensely.
Yes,
Where's he
yes.
playing? In Chicago?
Soldier Field,
Well,
the home of the Hammond, Indiana
yeah,
Bears.
has to be used for something in Chicago because it ain't used for football anymore.
Rip. Oh man.
What a tragedy that is.
For real. For real.
So,
But
Lizzie, today, what are we
yes,
talking about? What's the topic of this fantastic podcast?
we have decided to talk about foundational leadership. So I was kind of texting Murray earlier and he said, "What do you want to talk about?" And I said, "Let's talk about the skills that make someone a good leader, the qualities that we appreciate in good leaders." So, Murray, we're going to play a little bit of a game. We're going to take three traits each. This is our draft, okay? We're doing a draft. You get to draft your three qualities in a good leader, but if I draft the trait, you can't take the same trait.
That's fair.
Okay? So, would you like to lead us off in the first pick of our leadership draft? What to you is the number one thing that makes a good leader?
Well, I think, are we talking about foundational leadership in people with blindness and low vision? I think we should.
I think it can be either. I don't think it has
Okay.
to be blindness and low vision related
Well,
because I
my
think
one's,
the qualities that apply to a good blind or low vision leader are the same qualities that apply to a good leader.
well, I agree with that, but there's one caveat.
Hmm.
So, embracing blindness and low
Hmm.
vision
Hmm.
as part of your identity, I think
Okay.
the foundational part of someone with blindness and low vision being a confident leader and a foundational leader. So, confidence grows when young people
Hmm.
understand that they have to, reduce the potential for inequality, and
Hmm.
embracing that within themselves is the first part. And I've seen
Hmm.
really good potential leaders stumble with that in their foundationalism.
Hmm. So are you saying that your number one pick is confidence?
I would say confidence in yourself is the
Okay.
number one pick. You have to, but it's a balance, right?
Hmm.
Overconfidence cannot
Hmm.
be good, but confidence to be yourself
Hmm.
and to have confidence in your ability is definitely a foundation.
All right. So your first pick is confidence in yourself. I see that and raise you transparency. Transparency is my number one pick. I think that's the entire conceptualization of being transparent with the team that you're working with, the people that you're leading, about things like confidence, about areas of growth, about where your brain is and what your thoughts are and how you're making your decisions. I think transparency is huge in not only the why behind the decisions that you're making, but the how that helps people trust in you as a leader. So I'm going with transparency. Back over to you. What's round two?
Transparency is a very good one. I do
Hmm.
appreciate a transparent leader because that talks a lot about things like communication and
Hmm.
collaboration, which are also extremely important. I'm
Yep.
going to say um, that you have to be able to outwardly collaborate and
Hmm.
network. And I think this is one thing that I learned as a leader. I'm fairly charismatic, and sometimes people will follow.
Hmm.
But that's not the mark of a great leader. A mark of a
Hmm.
great leader is actually being able to bring people in and have them work with you rather than work for you.
Hmm.
So, a collaborative leader, much like a dictator versus someone who collaborates and brings
Hmm.
people in, and it goes back to that transparency issue, right? That you talked about last time. Is if you just do and asks people to follow,
Mhm.
then I don't think you're a good leader. But if you bring the people along and you work together for an agreed cause, then I think you're a good leader.
Okay. All right. I respect that. I think that's a good choice. I thought you were going to take one of my second or third picks, and that was going to make my life easier, but you didn't, so thanks for that.
You're welcome.
In round two, pick two of the draft, I am going to take. Oh, I'm so indecisive. Okay, I'm gonna take.
That's not a trait that you want, by the way.
I don't know. Sometimes. Okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. A leader with a growth mindset. I think that a really, really evident mark of a good leader is somebody who, like, yes, already has their strengths, right? But can also recognize the areas or the ways that they can grow new strengths, that they can strengthen the things that they already have as skills. But I think that also goes with that communication piece, right? Like, they have to be willing to hear that feedback of, like, hey, I didn't do this well, or I'm struggling with this. What do I do next, right? Somebody who thinks that they've like really peaked already is somebody who's setting themselves up to fail. So I will confidently and decisively take a growth mindset focused leader as my second pick.
Okay. For my third pick, I will take judgment. As
Mm,
I think along your similar lines for pick two, you have to be able to be a strong leader who is prepared to take healthy risks with
hmm
leadership and learn from your mistakes. And
hmm
sometimes you have to fail before you succeed, but a leader that doesn't take risks that have been evaluated and
hmm
researched and thought about and discussed is not going to make an organization great. I've seen so many leaders who are safe leaders who do nothing and come out and nothing's changed. You have to be a strong leader and a good leader. I think you
hmm
have to evaluate strong judgment and make risks and take chances.
hmm Well, and that also gets back to that communication piece, right? If you're judging a possibility or you're taking a risk, you've done your research, right? You've
Right.
communicated with the appropriate people, you've consulted the appropriate resources, you know the calculated risk. And I think that informed judgment is a huge piece of that too, is covering that base for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna go pick three. This is a little bit of a twofer, but I think when I explain it to you, you'll understand. Okay.
Okay.
The ability to delegate
Mm-hmm.
with the existence of boundaries, right? So like I am looking at transitioning some roles in the National Federation of the Blind here in the next couple of weeks. Um, And one of the things that I'm already having conversations with people about is like, hey, what are your boundaries, right? Like, where's your line? Because we all should have our lines in leadership. One of the things that I've been sharing with people is like, unless you are on my elected board of leaders, I'm not answering calls after 8 p.m. I'm full-time employed, I'm a part-time student, and I'm an extensive volunteer, plus I have a social life, right? Late night calls don't really work well for me. My brain kind of stops working after like 7:30 at night. Um,
Lizzie,
so
can I just ask one question?
yes,
Does your extensive social life include reading 110 books per year? Because you can always put that stuff on hold.
you'd actually be really proud of me. I think I've only finished one book in the last like 2.5 weeks,
We
maybe
did talk
two.
about, I think you're only up to 39 for the year, maybe 40 now. So
I
you
think I'm
are,
at
you are
41.
behind. Yeah.
I think I'm at 41. I am behind. I'm in a little bit of reading slump right now. However, okay, let's pivot back here to this delegation boundaries piece.
Hmm.
I think setting the appropriate boundaries allows people to like respect themselves and their schedules and like notice like, hey, my tank is really depleted, I need to do something to fill that up, right? I need to go on a bike ride, I need to take a day off, I need to watch a football game, right? Like whatever that is that kind of helps you re-energize, setting those boundaries and then saying, hey, because it's after 8 p.m., I can't tackle this question. Why don't you go ahead and give Murray a call? It's only 7 for him, right? Or whatever that looks like. I think it's the knowing what you can and can't handle so that you can pass things off to people in an appropriate and timely manner. Because I think another quality of a poor leader is somebody who thinks they can do a lot of things, right? and then they drop the ball and it's, well, you didn't get me this and you didn't get me that and blah blah, and it's like the accusatoriness, right? Accusation or whatever you want to call it. I think that boundary setting and that ability to delegate kind of complement each other really well. So you can either give it to me as pick three or I'll take it as picks 3 and 4, but we're done after 3 rounds anyway, so I'm gonna take it no matter what, just so you know.
Okay, good to know. All right, I guess that's the end of the podcast. Enjoy your lives, people.
Stop. We're not done yet because I
Oh,
have another question for you.
okay. I think they're all really important things, and of course, there's common threads, things like communication, and so you need really strong communication skills to be a leader, and that incorporates the collaboration pieces that we talked about, the judgment pieces, the delegation. Everything comes out of communication. So,
Mhm.
whilst we didn't say communication, that's the foundation of everything.
It is. It is. So if you were thinking, Murray, about like a really good leader,
Hmm.
who comes to mind for you? Like who's your default person and how do they exhibit some of the things that we've talked about?
I'll tell you who I think's a really underrated leader in modern times is Bill Clinton. He was
Okay,
able to,
hot take.
yeah,
Whoa.
he was able to balance the budget. He was able to have a strong approval rating because he was likable and
Mhm,
relatable. And I sometimes I don't feel like he gets enough. Whether you're whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, of course, and he's definitely
mhm,
perfect. But
mhm,
I think he led well from a political point where he got the budget down, he was fiscally responsible. He's kind of what I consider probably the most middle president we've had in recent times
mhm,
in between the political parties. And I think that's another thing is, especially in today's world, you're not going to please everybody all the time.
no.
And so it comes back to that judgment piece, right? Where you have to really consider what the overarching strategy is. And I've seen people pleasers be in leadership positions and make the
Mhm,
popular choice, which isn't always the best choice. And I
mhm,
think a strong leader will look at the big picture and make decisions based off what the big picture is, even if it's not the most popular decision.
mhm. Yeah, that's fair. That was a very niche choice. I'm gonna go total opposite direction than where your brain went. I'm gonna steer as far clear of politics as I possibly can. And I'm actually gonna go outside of the National Federation of the Blind for this one because I think that there's a lot of really great leaders in the NFB, and I think those are my easy answers. But honestly, the first person that came to my mind was when I was in high school. I had a youth group leader. I was a Young Life kid. And her name was Judy. And Judy struck this incredible balance of being like a role model who doesn't pass judgment, who's like willing to talk with you through things, right? She's going to talk to you, but she's also going to listen to you. And she was just like so approachable in my questions and in my fears and in my curiosities. And she just struck these incredible balances of like guiding me to things without forcing me to them, if that makes sense, right? She knew that I wasn't going to get it on the first try. She knew that I was going to try and I was going to fail, but it was like I never lost any esteem or whatever in her eyes because, she had a very good grasp on me as a teenager and like what I could and couldn't do and how I was going to maneuver those things. And I think that she just really showed me like not only in like the area of religion in life, but just in general, like how to be a really good person. And I think she laid the foundations of really strong leadership just by like role modeling them, right? It wasn't, I'm doing this because I'm great. It was, hey guys, I'm gonna host on Friday night. We're gonna watch a movie, we're gonna hang out, and we're gonna have some great conversations. And she just made this like incredible space for everyone to grow. And I think that that's a good leader, right? Is somebody who's willing to put in the time and the effort and like recognizes that it's time and effort and chooses to do it anyway, right? I mean, if good leaders were easy to find, we'd all be them already. And the reality of the matter is there's a lot of people that aren't, and that's hard.
I like in the job space, I've probably had one boss over my time who has really been a very strong leader. And I think he led primarily based off what the right thing to do was.
Hmm.
And that's also, very uncommon for
Hmm.
people in the workforce. I've had
Hmm.
plenty of bosses who take shortcuts and don't care about their people and so forth. But um, my last boss in Australia, he really was a good mentor, and he took the time to listen, and he always made the choice of doing the right thing, even when it wasn't always popular. And we
Hmm.
got through COVID together, and that was a really challenging time for our organization. But I think that strong leadership, and he went on to become CEO of multiple state
Hmm.
sporting organizations, and just a really strong foundational leader, but also a really strong people person.
Hmm.
Would relate to people well, and when you had to have the difficult conversations, he'd have them. But he was always really supportive, and I think that's the good mix, right, of what you want to find
Yep.
in your workplace, on your board committees, things like that.
Yeah. Honestly, I think a huge thing that we've even kind of underscored, and we didn't even necessarily mean to, because we never script our podcasts, is, you know, we've given three really different examples, right? We had a politician, we had a community leader, and we had an employment leader, right? I think it's really important to like be vigilant in your life, whatever your life looks like, whether you're a student, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just out in your community running errands, like whatever you do to fill your days, you will see qualities of great leadership. Um, Probably in places you just don't expect to see them. And I think it's a really incredible opportunity to see and reflect on maybe the things that you want to add to your own repertoire, right? I mean, my pick too in our draft was somebody who's got that growth mindset. Spend some time like listening and learning in the next couple of weeks. Who is a good leader and why do you think that person is a good leader? And how does that person handle the good and the bad and the ugly? And what can you learn about your own leadership by following them, right? Because the other piece that we haven't unpacked, and I don't think we need to like super in depth because it's pretty self-explanatory, good leaders often at some point in their lives have been great followers, right? We don't just pop out of the, stork's nest ready to be these strong, amazing people. It takes time and it takes success and it takes failure and then it takes another failure and it takes another success. We have to earn our stripes proverbially in this sense. So, my challenge, I guess, to everyone listening today is just like don't be afraid to go out and listen and learn. Because everyone has something that they can improve on. Everyone can continue to strengthen their leadership. For some people, it might be reading a book on the subject. For other people, it's going to be sitting down and doing an informational interview to help understand where that person's background and experiences, like where they came from, where it's led them to. So don't be afraid to be observant. That can go a really long way too in the broad scheme of life.
I want to ask you a question, Lizzie, and I'll answer it as well. But what's been a time in your life where you've been given a leadership opportunity and you felt like you weren't ready for it, or you maybe didn't have the experience to do it? And what did you do to prepare?
So I'm going to sort of answer your question with my most relevant answer. And that is within the last couple of weeks, I was actually approached with the idea of considering running to be the president of the National Association of Blind Students. And I was on the student division board for about 4 years, a handful of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And I really enjoyed it. I did not feel ready for that leadership opportunity at the time. I had to go through a lot of trial and error and coaching and mentorship to get to a point where I was doing the tasks that I was assigned then very successfully. Left the board when I was getting ready to do my brief stint in law school because I was like, my time restraints are going to be so much more significant. But when I was approached with this opportunity, my immediate answer wasn't no. It was let me think about it because of a couple of reasons. One, there is a need, and I think a really good skill set of a leader isn't, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And like waiting to be told something. I think sometimes it's seeing a need and just stepping in and filling it, right? Like I don't need the bells and whistles. I don't need the recognition. We as a collective need this to be done, so I'm going to help out in the interim. Um, I also think that young leadership is a really, really evident place of growth, right? And I've said to multiple people, I think the easiest place where we lose people in the National Federation of the Blind is between college graduation and when they've gotten settled in their careers, right? It's somewhere between 22 and 35. And if we just stop fueling that generation of leaders and mentoring them into, the people that they want to be tomorrow, we lose them, they lose us. It's just a lose all around kind of situation. Um, Knowing all of this, does that mean that I feel ready to be the National Student Division president? No. Um, Frankly, part of the reason that I did agree to run for the position, spoiler alert, is because it scares me. It's something that I don't feel fully prepared to do or to be. Um, However, I also recognize that in that fear is a lot of area to grow. So I've had a lot of conversations about who I want to be as a president and what I would want the division to look like and how we can navigate some of those conversations and those transitions and those changes. And I also know that I wouldn't be able to do any of it without other leaders around me, right? People who have been in the student division more recently than I have, national office leadership, individuals, staff, folks who can answer the questions that I don't know the answers to. Um, I think that's actually, that entire situation is part of why this topic has been so prevalent in my brain for the last couple weeks, and it's the reason that I pitched it to you today. Is the things that scare us are the things that stand to make the biggest difference. Um, do I feel ready to start being the student division president if I'm elected in 2.5 weeks? No. But am I going to figure it out? Yes. And I am very confident that I will be able to do that based on some of the things that I've proactively done. Not only, to care for myself, to mentor the leaders that are already on the board, to be mentored by the leaders that are on the board, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the most timely and relevant answer to your question.
Well, I thank you for being a bit vulnerable with us. That's important, right? And
Yeah.
mark of a good leader.
Mhm.
One thing that impressed me about you when this came up was you called me and you said, "Why do you bring me out to your workshops, and why do you
Mhm.
want me to be involved with what you do?" And that's the mark of a good leader because it's reaffirming what your strengths are, right?
Mhm.
Reaffirming what things maybe you're not hearing that you have to do some self evaluation about. And
Mhm.
leadership is always self evaluation. And
Mhm.
um, it depends a little bit on the people that you surround yourself with, right? Like you just
Yep.
talked about it, your mentors, the people who your bosses, your fellow board members. There's so many different people that impact making you a good leader. And that's one thing that strikes me is, I've been on many boards over the years. A lot of times, the board members don't always do jobs that they say they're going to do. And then as a leader, you have two choices. You either
Yep.
work with them to do it, or you do it yourself to make
Yep.
sure that the projects get done. But you're always learning when those things happen, right? Well, what could have I
Mhm.
done better to be able to
Mhm.
engage more and understand the limitations more, and blah blah blah. But it's
Yep.
it's those leadership qualities that I think a lot of people miss out on today. And um, I did a lot of work with universities in
Mhm.
Australia, and I'm starting now to do some here. And I've just finished a pilot program with an audible haptics at blind NFL ball with the University
Mhm.
of Washington. And that was a really rewarding capstone project for me
Mhm.
to oversee. The students really, were conscientious. They worked hard. They took feedback. They got the job done and worked really well together. And I thought, it's a great thing when you have a project or a group that you're working on that works well and collaborates effectively and listens. And I think that's one thing that we didn't talk about is listening.
Mhm.
You when you called me, you asked the question and then you listened.
Mhm.
And I think we don't do that enough as leaders. We need to
Mhm.
ask a question of someone we want the answer for and then listen.
Yeah. And be prepared to hear the answer that we aren't expecting, right? I think
Right.
that's another big piece is I can ask you, "Hey, Murray, what color is the sky?" And if you say green and you make a really, really good argument for why it's green, I shouldn't ask you the question if I don't want your answer, right? I mean, that's been a mentality in my household my entire life is my parents are like, dude, if I ask you the question, you better darn be ready to give me the truth. And if I don't ask you the question, it's probably because I didn't want the answer, right?
Right.
Huge piece is listening. You know, I'm even thinking of your thought of what could I have done differently, right? In that leadership situation where somebody doesn't get something done that's supposed to me, that's a conversation you sit down and you have with that individual. Hey, I noticed that this was really frustrating for me. I imagine it was kind of frustrating for you too. What can we do differently next time? How can I be more available to you so that you feel comfortable maybe coming to me sooner or coming to me with a different ask? Like what does that look like? Because I think you're showing that person in that moment, not only, hey, am I willing to listen to you? It's also, hey, I'm willing to accept some responsibility in this fumble. How do we do it better next time? Right? You have to pivot and try again. And that's hard and that's scary sometimes in and of itself, right? But it's necessary. It's super, super necessary.
I think it's true. And, we talk about leadership and foundational leadership, and I think that starts at a young age, and maybe not so much anymore, but it really is an advantage to start at a young age. And the people who I look at who are kind of 18, 20, they've been advocating since they were like 12
Yep.
and doing things like applying for scholarships and writing essays and
Yep.
getting involved in topics that they feel pretty passionate about. And those people, when you see them at 18, 20, they have a huge advantage for their future and to be a leader with whatever they want to do, whether it's their career, their advocacy, being on board, an advisor, whatever it is. So, one thing that, if you have parents listening to this podcast, I can't
Hmm.
say this enough. Create a curiosity bubble for your
Hmm.
child and have them be curious about things in life and have discussions about things, because it's those discussions and those curiosities that will lead your child to have really existential growth at a
Hmm.
younger age, to then put them above the pack when they get to graduating high school, making a choice about their further study or their career.
Hmm. And don't ignore the little opportunities, right? Like I think some people get really bogged down in like, what is advocacy? You know, is it going to Capitol Hill? Is it applying for scholar? Like what is advocacy? Advocacy can literally be the next time you go to a restaurant, instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I'll have iced tea and my daughter will have orange juice." Let your kid order,
Yep.
right? Like foster some environments where they get used to talking to other people and making that eye contact and using projection and manners and all of those things. It doesn't have to be the giant boulders. It can be the little pebbles, and if you start nudging those little pebbles in their direction, you're laying a strong foundation. So
And I
don't
think
ignore the little ones.
it has to be authentic, right? Like exactly what you just said. um, I've trained people in internships recently, and they've worked really hard to memorize a script or understand the product that they're going to talk about.
Hmm.
And they're very proud, and they get into a conversation, and someone says something that isn't in the script, right, or isn't in the Q&A material that I gave them, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't know what to say,"
Hmm.
because everything that you do in life has to be authentic. If you're a leader, you have to be able to read off, go out of the script, because there's going
Hmm.
to be things that happen in your board, in your career,
Hmm.
in your relationships, your networking, that isn't going to be something that you've studied for. And that's where that authenticity comes in
Hmm.
and is really important, because if you are authentic about something and you're passionate about it, then you can talk about things that come from outside of that circle that you feel comfortable in.
Hmm.
But if it's all pre rehearsed and you're standing in front of a mirror and you're remembering your speech, when someone asks you something that's off away from that,
Hmm.
then you're going to
Flop.
really, yeah, well, you're going to be someone who is taken back, right? And that
Yep.
impression of you as an authentic leader is going to be withdrawn. So it's really
Well, and
important
like,
to,
let's also acknowledge the fact that saying I don't know,
yeah,
instead of like BSing your way through it or
right.
like dropping the ball, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me get your contact information and I'll do some research to see if I can find an answer that adequately addresses your inquiry and
Right.
I'll get back to you.
But that's
Right?
authentic. right? That's an authentic response to a situation that you might not
Yeah.
have researched about. And I think that's really, important
Yeah.
that you are, even if you don't know, that is great, because
You
then
got to be
someone will
ready.
like, okay, well, I guess you don't know, but you're going to find out. And then make sure that you get back to that person after you've
Hmm.
done the research and found out.
Follow through, another great leadership quality.
Yeah, exactly. Do what you say you're going to do. I always say there's two things that
Hmm.
you have um, in your character, and that is authenticity and your word. Uh,
Hmm.
if you are authentic in how you go about things, you'll absolutely have opportunities to network, collaborate. People will want
Yep.
to follow you because you're passionate about what you do. And then the second thing is, if you all you have is your word. So if you move away from what your word is and you say something different, and then that's consistent, people will think of you as breaking your word and not having that integrity that a leader needs to have.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Resource time. You want to kick us off?
Yes, uh, I just got the list of vendors today for the NFB National Convention.
Woot woot.
There's some people who I expected it to be on there that aren't, but also some people who are new, which I'm excited to learn more about. So
Awesome. Okay.
um, from July 4th through July 6th at the
Hmm.
National Convention, there will be an exhibit hall. We will
Hmm.
be table number 5 at US
Ooh.
Blind Tennis. Come say g'day to us. Myself and the adapted director of tennis for USTA, Evan Enquest, will be there.
Hmm.
And it's a great opportunity to talk about tennis, talk about blind tennis, see where you are in the country, so we can get some demographic information, so we can set
Hmm.
up hubs. But really
Hmm.
excited to talk to you. And by all means, I think there's nearly 60 exhibit tables in the
There's so many.
exhibit hall. Go and see what's there. There's so many different resources and
Hmm.
great conversations that you can have. And for young people, take the time to have a conversation with booths.
Hmm.
Don't
Absolutely.
just drop by and then drop out. And because you don't know something, or there's not something on the table that you can touch, that you can identify, ask
Hmm.
questions. It's a great opportunity to be able to have conversations with people who live this and breathe this environment. And it's a great opportunity to network as well.
Hmm.
And you never know if you're going to strike up a conversation and meet somebody that could be a future job opportunity, could be
Hmm.
a future internship opportunity, could be a collaboration if you need a piece of equipment down the road. So take that opportunity to really think about the conversation that you want to have at the tables and
Hmm.
engage.
Absolutely. So I'm going to piggyback on yours in that I will be at some point in time working both the Performing Arts Division table and the National Federation of the Blind of Iowa tables. So if you've gone to go see Murray and he's like, "Hey, go see our co-host Elizabeth," don't forget me either. I don't know where I'll be in the room, but I'm loud. You'll find me. The other thing that
You
I will
are
tell
you are
you
loud. They will find.
that kind of goes right along with Murray's bit here about connection is there are also some really incredible opportunities to do career fairs and career exploration at this year's NFB convention in Austin. There are some proactive deadlines, things that you need to sign up for ahead of time. So go explore the nitty gritty of our national convention agenda. It has been released nfb.org/convention, and you'll be able to find the full agenda. Definitely worth checking out whether you're going to go to a division meeting and make some connections there, whether you want to try the career fair and connect that way. You get what you put in, right? Out of this conference, that's what you get. So put in the time, put in the effort, yield the result, make the connection. You're going to make some new friends. You're going to have a blast along the way. It is worth it. I think we're going to have a couple of episodes, maybe one or two more
Yep.
between now and National Convention. So we'll try and hype it up as much as we can, but this is your time to be proactive in reaching those deadlines. So definitely don't delay. Get in
And
on that.
when you're looking at the agenda, put yourself into an environment sometimes where you don't know something or someone.
Hmm.
Go and get into a class or a session that you aren't familiar with, and take
Hmm.
yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's how I met Lizzie.
Hmm.
I walked up and there she was taking my money, and then she heard my fantastic accent and couldn't
I
resist
did.
the engaging. So it's,
Yep.
the rest is history. We're 23 episodes later.
Literally. Literally. Oh,
Literally.
what a good Michael Jordan episode this has been.
Go the Bulls.
Go the Bulls indeed.
Even though I'm a Celtics fan, so Larry Bird, owned
You're good.
Jordan for the early part of his career. Um, Lizzie, thank you for your foundational leadership through the episode. It's been
As
fantastic.
to you, sir. As to you.
Oh, thank you very much. And there will be more. Just one more thing about National Convention. On the first day of convention, which is Friday, July 3rd,
Mhm.
um, the Sport and Recreation Division will be hosting um, basically a sports fair in the afternoon. I
Mhm.
believe it's from 12 to 5
I
and
think it's 1 to 6.
1 to 6.
I
And
think I looked at it today. Yep.
okay. And there'll be tables for different sports. I think we've got 8 different tables that you can go and
Mhm.
talk to about individual sports. Tennis will be there, cricket will be there, blind ice hockey will be there. From a recreation point, I think they've got Achilles running club
Mm.
and hiking or outdoor adventure type stuff. And
Nice.
so it'll be great just to have an informal discussion. Sometimes exhibit hall can get very loud and very busy.
Mhm.
So this is a great opportunity to come to the sports fair on the Friday afternoon and just have a chat and do some stuff.
Awesome. Well, I know that I am planning to be there, and I know you are planning to be there. So clearly the party
Is
knows where
there.
it's at. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
And then Lizzie might take you to Starbucks in Austin and get you through the ordering of the 1,000 items and the specialty items. What do they call it? The secret item, secret
the
menu item?
secret menu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just got a Devil Wears Prada. I got an Andy inspired drink the other day.
oh,
Pretty
yeah.
fire.
I
Case
have to tell you, McDonald's um, have introduced bursties. Do you know what a bursty is?
no.
It is a little bubble. It's like the boba tea, I think.
Mm,
Like the little bubbles, and they have flavor in them. And
mm.
they do put it in their pineapple drink that's just been released. Um, I think they're pineapple bursties, but they're in the mango drink. But I would
Interesting.
recommend that you ask them to put them in the creamsicle drink because creamsicle
Mm.
is where it's at, people.
You're so weird.
I love creamsicles.
So weird. Okay, you throw no shade at me for my white girl Starbucks orders now because you unironically go to McDonald's and you order something called a bursty in a creamsicle.
Yeah,
Okay,
just try
close
it.
out the episode.
Just,
I don't.
just try it. I was proud of you before we finished. I was proud of you because when you were talking about your first your first leader that you were going to expel the fantasticness of,
Mhm.
I really thought it was going to be Taylor Swift. So I give you a
I'm
heads
growing
up
as a
that it wasn't
person.
that it was not Taylor Swift.
I don't know her personally. Can she really be a leader to me?
Probably not. All right,
Hmm.
peeps. For Lizzie and I, we wish you adieu. And please tune into our podcast, episode 24 and 25. And then we're going to take a summer break and come back with season
Woo!
2 in September. So
Yay!
25 episodes a season. We're doing a long haul. I feel like we're on Lost television show here doing 25 episodes a season. But yeah, not so much.
We're
All right,
strong.
everybody. Farewell from 23. We'll see you in 24.
See ya.
So I'm